So this happened. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. And me. One should never be truly disappointed when an uber unique drops, but it's hard not to be when it's both arguably the worst one for your class, and it happens multiple times. Hello everyone then, and welcome to a little look at Andariel's Visage in Season 2, so that if you have it, well, you know if you should be excited or not, and if you don't have it, you should know whether you should care about having it or not. Look, it's an uber unique, so baseline, they're all very fun, powerful items that you're going to be excited about when you get them for the first time, especially if it's your first uber unique. However, Andariel's Visage has taken quite the hit in Season 2 for reasons we'll get into, but it's just not great. And it's a real shame that it's just not great. Now, don't get me wrong, there are certain situations, there are certain classes and builds, like poison-based rogue setups, that absolutely love it. But let's address the elephant in the room right now. That elephant is called Harlequin's Crest. And there isn't a single build, class, etc. that would rather have Andariels on than Harlequin's Crest. Even the best build in the game for Andariels, a poison-based rogue build, you're probably still going to want Harlequin's Crest because it's just the uber, right? So that already hurts this item's existence just by default, because if you had access to all the gear in the game, it wouldn't get much of a look in. But the reality is, of course, you don't have access to all the gear in the game, and even with Duriel giving us a, well, let's not go as far as to say reliable, but a source of ubers, you might get Andariel long before you get a shaco. So, in that instance then, is it worth putting it on? Is it worth building around? Does it need building around? Let's dig deep into that and actually go over how it's performed now that I've had 3 of them and done plenty of testing to desperately try and, you know, not feel terrible that I've wasted my luck tokens on this helmet. And talking of luck, I only have one question.
So, where is your fate rolling to?
Oh yes, a huge thank you to Dragonair Silent Gods for sponsoring this video. It's an open world strategy RPG that's gone full D&D, so you know it's got my attention, and given Dungeons & Dragons is the world's most popular role-playing game, I imagine it might have yours too, and if it does, you can check it out at the link down below, as well as claim a free gift code to help you along with joining the legends of D&D in Dragonair. It's playable on Windows, Mac, Steam, Epic, and Android and iOS, so you are covered no matter what, and well, with the Dungeons & Dragons infusion, you know you've got that dice rolling chaos that comes with it. The shenanigans and the characters that power it all done in a deeply tactical grid-based battle system.
You shall perish!
Dragonair's collaboration then with Dungeons & Dragons gives us some iconic D&D legends like Drizzt Do'Urden and Ertu, and the former, along with his loyal panther, have a full, tailored, and complete storyline for you to enjoy. There's a lot of fun to be had here, a world to explore, materials to be gathered, battles to be won, characters to meet, and that's just right now. There is more iconic D&D characters that will be added through seasonal content releases. So if you want to join the already over 10 million downloads of this game that's secured the top spot in over 10 regions already since its global launch, the link, as I said at the start, is down below, and there is an exclusive gift code to redeem a limited edition gift pack, so make sure you use it as you join the legends from D&D in Dragonair. So, Andariel's Visage then. It is a helmet slot. I know, that is I'm just blowing you away with my wealth of information here, but that's important because it means you can no longer have a defensive helmet, and that's normally one of the premium damage reducting slots, and we will need damage reduction, especially for Abattoir of Zur, so using this, you have to be able to justify it. We can't put a defensive aspect on it. It doesn't have percent armor or health, so you are just inherently squishier, or at least you have more restricted options to not be squishy while wearing it. One of the big advantages of Harlequin's Crest is it just gives you 20% DR for its existence, meaning you get to have your cake and eat it too. Not so much here. That's already a mark against it, but does it make up for it? Well, 27 all stats is just nice, right? It's fine. There are better aspects, there are worse affixes even, and it just kind of is there. The poison resist, okay, cool, yeah, maybe saves you needing to get that poison resist from a gem or from an alternate source, but it's not the hardest to reach your 70% all resist, and again, this is an affix on an uber unique, and there are better ones if you could choose, like cooldown reduction, you know? So, the two that really matter are getting a source of attack speed on your helmet, which you usually can't, which is a nice amount of damage increase, especially for something like, in my case, Ball Lightning, which makes it tick faster, but just everyone wants to cast their abilities 15% faster, so that's good, right? It's noteworthy. It's not insane, but it's noteworthy. Which then leaves the lifesteal. Now, of course, the lifesteal is perhaps the most big deal part of this Uber, more so than its actual effect, because it's really the only way to do this in the entire game. Convert your damage into healing. The thing is, and I really hate to say this, it's kind of really bad. And the reason is, A, it's not actually 3% lifesteal. I mean, think about it. We're hitting for hundreds and hundreds of thousands of millions of damage constantly. Think of the numbers from Ball Lightning, right? If it was actually 3% of that, it would be impossible for me to ever be below full health. But you can see while I'm using it, I get injured, you see my health start racing back up, sure, but it's certainly not 3%, and it's kind of a con. It's amazing constant healing, make no mistake, but it's not, haha, I can't die unless you one-shot me healing. What it kind of conveys itself as if you just read it. So that's really anticlimactic, but again, it is still really nice to have this constant surge of healing, meaning that, yeah, you don't spend much time outside of full health, but it's not this sort of permanent status. And what I said there is, unless you one-shot me. And the thing is, in difficult, or at least the endgame content, in tier 90 pluses, in certainly Abattoir of Zur once it's out, being one-shot if you don't have enough damage reduction is just going to happen. Even if this was genuine 3%, so you were always on full health, you still have to stack enough damage reduction that you can't get one-shot. And that's a fair amount of damage reduction because things hit hard at that level. And what you're seeing in the background is me using Andariels to try and coast on the healing while having very minimal defensive aspects, paragons, skills, etc. And you can see how well it's not going. And now we're losing some damage reduction because we're using this non-defensive helmet, so we're sort of left in a situation where, yeah, it's nice to constantly be healing, but that doesn't really help a crazy amount because I still need to be tanky enough for that healing to actually matter in some form. And of course, you can use this in combination with other items and synergies to make that a little better, a little easier. So let's talk on that front then with the classic combination that is Andariel's Visage and Temerity. These go hand in hand, right? Because if we can use the overhealing to some sort of advantage, i.e. you're lifestealing while at full health, then we start to look a lot better, and Temerity converts that healing into a barrier above full health. So we put Andariels on, we put Temerity on, we attack something, and then we just generate this permanent, nice little chunky barrier that does stack with your other barriers. So you can end up with like a good 15 to 20k amount of barriered health here, which, yeah, that does make you nicely tanky. So yeah, walking around with a permanent massive barrier, effectively more than doubling your health, is undeniably really good, especially when you encounter barrier synergies like the conceited aspect and so on and so forth. But the thing is, you still need to have enough damage reduction. Something like a tier 100 skeleton crossbow will one-shot you many times over if you have no damage reduction, even at an effective 25k health. So you kinda don't get to just ignore things like ever-living aspect of might, disobedience, affixes like damage reduction from close, from distance, just pure damage reduction, or class-specific ones like damage reduction from burning in my case. You have to have enough of it, just perhaps a little bit less thanks to this combo. And that isn't the worst thing in the world. It's a nice little thing to lean on, having this safety net of health, permanent barrier synergy. Okay, cool. And then you get to have Andariels with its attack speed and its poison novas, and you feel pretty good. But the thing is, look, before we go on to the thing is and ruin it, let's at least bring up Soulbrand. Soulbrand is one of the new uniques and has a startlingly good synergy with Andariel's Temerity and itself. We have a permanent barrier, so we have a 20% damage reduction on. That's really nice. We have the damage reduction from close, the barrier generation helps the combo work out in itself. This is a really good trifecta, and yes, the potion barrier stacks with the Temerity barrier, stacks with your own barrier, so Andariel's Temerity and Soulbrand as a trifecta are a really strong defensive core that lets you then still take full advantage of Andariel's poison and attack speed, and so on. So that's really cool, and it does make you feel nigh unkillable. However, when it comes to being unkillable, nothing beats Selig, because damage reduction is better than healing and total health. So all of this kind of doesn't matter because Selig is the vastly superior survivability uber. But then again, that's not fair because Andariel isn't supposed to be a survivability uber, it just has a lifesteal effect as kind of a bonus to its actual effect. So we'll not knock too many points for that, but what we will do is Temerity is a leg slot item, which is awkward because now in Season 2, there is a particular leg slot item that essentially everyone wants to have all of the time. This is like uber unique level of wants for essentially every build. 40% multiplicative that you can keep up permanently is a nutty damage increase. The constant 50 resource gains is really nice. You still get some damage reduction from your legs with the reduction from close, and the affixes are generally pretty damn good as well. This thing is glorious, and giving up Tybalt's will to run Temerity and Andariels and even Soulbrand too is not only a hugely bad thing to do, it results in less damage output anyway, because Andariels doesn't make up the damage that you're losing from Tybalt's. So you essentially have to make a really awful decision if that's the path you're gonna go. So you can use Andariels by itself and Tybalt's, but then you're back to the square one of now you're a lot squishier because you're not getting any DR from your head slot. So is that worth it? Let's talk about that, because the answer to is that worth it essentially comes down to the Poison Nova. Is the damage the Poison Nova provides with the, little bit of nice comfort of lifesteal, but as we've discussed, it's nowhere near as good as it seems. Is that worth having it here if you don't have Harlequin's Crest to replace it? And again, we're getting into these very specific situations, and you start to see so more and more why I feel like Andariel's stock has really fallen off. So the Poison Nova itself is, admittedly, really, really good. We will see it trigger, and it'll be a little splodge of green. There we go. And now they're ticking away, and initially that's 16k, 16k, 16k. It's not crazy, but it's not bad, right? And of course, it is damage over time, so any classes that have synergy with damage over time, and any class that has synergy with poison. If I, as a sorcerer, didn't have access to infection for poison damage to get an extra stack of Talrashes, Andariel would actually be really good for us as the only way to add poison damage regularly, but sadly that's not the case. In any way, though, if we go really crazy and just let our damage stack and stack and stack, you see how often that green splodge is actually exploding out. It happens a lot, and each one adds its own extra layer of poison. You start to see it's ticking for 250,000 every time. That's really potent. That's a lot of damage, and it's AoE. So yeah, the actual damage it adds isn't insane, but it's really good. It's less damage than just, for example, X-Files add if you're using a damage over time. So for sorcerers with the Firebolt enchantment, that puts a dot on. That's going to trigger X-Files enough that it will still outdamage the Poison Novas, but from a helmet slot, yes, Andariel's gives a lot of damage. It gives less damage than +4 ranks of all of your skills that Shaco gives, of course, so it can't compete there, but it does give a lot of damage, and it gives it in a poison dot way, which a lot of classes like Rogue can make use of. But you see how I just mentioned X-Files? You would think, hey, it's another damage over time, so another chance to proc X-Files, so anyone who's focusing on that, Andariel's is great, right? It should be. It really, really should be, but for some reason, and I assume it's a bug or an oversight, because of course it is, X-Files doesn't proc from Andariel's poison dot, so you can't actually use X-Files with it, which is really horribly anticlimactic. Yeah, so we've got a situation where this uber unique. So we're in a situation where Andariel's is struggling. It really is. In order for it to help you survive, you need Temerity and probably Soulbrand, which means no Tibolts, which is really bad. And then if you're looking at it as an extra bit of damage from a helmet slot that normally doesn't give you that much damage at all, then yeah, that's great. It is outdone by Harlequin's Crest, but of course you can't guarantee having both, so maybe, yeah, this is worth it, but then you still have to make up the damage reduction from a different area, so it's not like it's for free, and you just kind of have this awkward helmet where everything that it does is fine to good, but it's awkward in its implementation. The lifesteal is great, but not game-changing. The poison damage is great, but not game-changing. None of its effects are essentially build-defining. It just feels good, right? And normally that would be fine, but it's an uber unique. And just good doesn't quite cut it to me, I don't think, and I really actually feel like it needs a little bit of a bump. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're doing easy content, open world stuff, and you have this, whack it on. The more damage, the poison over AoE, yeah, it's great. But in terms of, like, clearing tier 100s, Abattoir of Zur, proper min-max endgame builds, this is just an awkward item to use, and I know I keep saying it, but awkward really is the best way to describe it. If you have access to every uber unique, it doesn't get a look in, and even if you don't, the shifts and changes you have to make to allow for it, sometimes, a lot of the time, make your build worse than it was before, and it's got a bugged interaction with one of the things that might save it, which is having an extra dot for X-Files. So yeah, all in all, I really do think Andariel's might arguably be the worst or second worst uber unique, even competing with Starless Skies, which at least has a couple uses, though it's still pretty bad for a lot of builds that aren't sort of Bone Spear Necro, and I kind of really feel sad about that. But in any case, that's my look at Andariel's, and how it goes down, how it works, and whether you want it or not. As again, don't get me wrong, it's an uber. If you have it, equip it, enjoy it, you will find it is powerful and fun to do the Poison Novas, to have the lifesteal. But it's not a I win now button, and it especially especially falls off in harder content where the damage isn't really that helpful or needed, and the lifesteal doesn't actually keep you alive in any helpful sense. So yeah, there you have it. I hope you have found this useful, and for now, like you've enjoyed this, subscribe, hit the bell for more, consider supporting the future of the channel on Patreon down below, and until we meet again, goodbye.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.